All right, so UFC 312 is today in like 2 hours. It's like in exactly 2 hours. Well, actually, by the time I upload this, probably like 30 minutes. By the time it renders and uploads, my stuff is slow, but it's okay because I want to do a couple predictions. I know I'm late. I've been super busy, but I just want to do a couple predictions. Just the last two fights, really. The co-main and main. You know what's funny? You know how when you watch like MMA commentators, besides Guru, obviously that's gonna do everything. But like, you know, you normally get people that want to talk about at least the whole main card, at least. Bro, nobody's talking about this card, bro. I think y'all are, is it just me? But I feel like every Australia card looks like this. Am I tripping? I mean, normally we'll have like a better feature. Like a feature would be like what do we have? Like we had a Volkov and Tuivasa, I think a couple years ago. But like, I don't know, maybe it's just me. Like, to me, the Australia cards normally look kind of like this to me. I don't know. I typically find myself not too familiar or too like interested in the Australia cards. Like, you know, it's kind of funny that Anshul is opening the card. You would think the UFC would be trying to, like, even though he just lost, you would think they would kind of try to push him to like at least a feature early prelim fight. But to have him opening the card, or maybe that is something that they want to kind of bring attention, and that's why they put him there. But that's not really going to work unless you are a big star already. Anyway, for example, like I'm familiar with Jubilee, I'm familiar with Jusset, I'm familiar with Topuria. I'm just going down one side, whether or not I'm familiar with both sides or not. I'm familiar with Jack Jenkins. Like, I'm familiar with a lot of these fighters, Jimmy Crute obviously, and I'm gonna watch it. I'm actually gonna make an effort to watch the entire card today, even though I got shit to do. So I don't know, to me it just feels like all the Australia cards always look like this. However, that's besides the point. Let's go into Weili versus Suarez. Now, Suarez is an absolute dog, right? She's one of those people, like, she's like a Shemaev of the 115-pound division. She destroys every single person she faces. She has not ran into a competition yet. Her wrestling is just that dominant. When you look at the 115-pound division, there aren't that many strong wrestlers. There are people who can mix in the grapplers, but people that come from like a wrestling pedigree like her, there aren't that many. And to be honest, there aren't that many in women's MMA anyway, which makes her stand out. You can tell she's just big, physical, and strong. All of her size is in like her back and top. Like, she's like, you know, Corey Sandhagen was talking about this recently about like the type of body builds that there are, with people who have like deep back and chest, like really big up here, but like short limbs. And there's people who kind of have like narrow back, like, you know, this way. Sorry, I didn't mean to hit the mic this way, but they have long limbs. He was referring to like Marab versus like himself, and like kind of how certain styles lead to explosiveness, and some style or some body types lead to cardio and conditioning. That's besides the point. You can tell like she's just like very top heavy, very strong with her body. Probably, I don't remember. I think she was a freestyle wrestler, but she kind of built like she could be a good Greco wrestler. I'm not sure if I'm right on that, but anyway. You can tell she's very strong, very physical. She's used that against every single champion she's fought. However, Zhang Weili's just, in my opinion, is a more well-rounded fighter. I think she brings more in the striking. You know, it's interesting because I thought Zhang Weili was. I didn't think there'd be anybody that could really just outclass her in the striking. Of course, she got knocked out by. by Namajunas, but seeing what Yan Xiaonan was able to do to her in rounds 3, 4, and 5 after getting finished, let's be honest, getting finished twice, was honestly impressive. She kind of had Zhang Weili, like, no disrespect, she kind of had Zhang Weili running in a way. Like, she completely took over the stand-up in that fight. She was landing the big shots, and Zhang Weili ended up resorting to her grappling in order to sort of survive. I mean, she was doing more than survive. When she would take her down, she was controlling her. But it was, and that's mixed martial arts, right? That's what you do. But I wouldn't have expected Yan Xiaonan to be able to outclass her so much in the striking, especially after she took so much damage in the first 2 rounds. And that could have been Zhang Weili kind of blowing her load and losing some of her quick twitch and her ability to react to the striking as quickly, because she blew her load in the first 2 rounds finishing Yan Xiaonan. But it's funny how it's never the opposite, where you almost get finished and so your load gets blown. You know, Yan Xiaonan seemed as sharp as ever. She's just a dog. That big old head she just must be able to take like just endless punishment, because she got choked out and she got beat up. And then she had that cut at 300, right? I mean, not 300, at 303, 305, 306, the sphere, whatever, right? So yeah, she can take punishment. However, so I see this fight. I think they're gonna come out, play the distance a lot. I think Weili's smart. She's gonna play the distance, go for some inside low kicks. I think Suarez is just gonna come in flat-footed, or not flat-footed, but I think she's gonna kind of like march her down, take probably a couple shots on the way in, pepper her jab some, maybe land some. She does have a significant, like a decent reach advantage because she's a little taller. I believe she has the longer legs and she has the longer reach. You know, people talk about reach, they just talk about arms, but there's more than that goes into reach. One is obviously your ability to manage space and distance. If you can't do that, your reach doesn't matter. But she has longer arms, she has longer legs, so she can extend on her legs and move in easier. And then she also is a little bit like taller, so she just has an overall, you know, advantage in reach. Let's actually look and see if she does have longer legs. I assume when I looked at them in the face-off, they look like it, and I like to pay attention to stuff like that because I know like people don't talk about it, but leg reach is important, in my opinion. I tend to put a lot of value in leg reach more than most. Oh, I'm on ESPN, that's why it's not showing me. I tend to put more value in that than most people because obviously for teeps and kicks and things like that, but also for what it's able to do for you in the striking. And I know UFC measures that, but they don't put that on the on their whatever. But anyway, and also if you notice, like Asians tend to normally have, especially the women, short legs and long torso. Like Yang Xiaonan's built like that too. It's kind of just like a way they're built. So you can usually expect that they're of comparable height. It's because their torso is long and their legs are usually short. You don't normally see it the other way around. But okay, so I'm looking here. It says her leg reach is 39. Yeah, so that's like, I think that's like almost what Stipe Miocic has. I don't know what it is about women and having like super long legs but being short. I don't know how that works, because then you would think that means that if they stood next to each other, their hips are at the same height. So that's kind of insane. And it says Zhang Weili here has 36, which, you know, having like 3 inches of like arm reach is like normal and doable and you're used to that, but leg reach isn't normally as like pronounced. You know what I mean? Like it's normally not that. Normally fighters will have the same or within 1. You know, like leg reach only goes from probably in the entire UFC 35 to like 48 on like the very extreme ends. I'm talking about like Volkov to like like even below Henry Cejudo. Like I know there was a fighter taller than Volkov, I can't remember his name, and there's a fighter shorter than Mighty Mouse, I just can't remember his name. But like on the extreme ends, it probably is about like 13-inch difference. Whereas reach, the shortest reach is probably, and that's like men to women. I think the shortest is probably a man, the tallest is probably a man. As far as arm reach, the shortest is probably a woman and the longest is a man. It goes from 84 all the way down to, I would say the shortest arm reach might be somewhere around, I mean, we know Zhang Weili has what, 63? And there's probably shorter, but if we just say 84 to 62, that's already 20 inches. You see what I'm saying? There's a larger gap. I say all that to say 3 inches in leg reach is not nothing to scoff at, and that's gonna helps Tatiana Suarez get across the distance with her jab and her cross, just to set up that takedown. I do think she takes down Zhang Weili in the first round. I believe I put on my Prize Picks, sponsor me, Prize Pick. Like I think I did pretty good with this one. Like, I mean, why not? Yo, TheHeraldAkiin, like something like Code Akin probably. Like, come on, bro. Anyway, that she's gonna get like more than 4 takedowns. The reason why I'm usually more confident putting takedown, like more for takedowns, is because like UFC, like mat, like what we would consider in wrestling a mat return is considered a takedown. Like that's why when you watch Curtis Blades versus what's his name? Mohadinho, the heavyweight. Why can't I think of his name? I'm terrible with names. Mohadinho, the Brazilian. He just knocked out Sergey Spivak. What's his name? Jailton Almeida. He had like 11 takedowns in the first round because all he was doing was body locking and like dragging down, and then Curtis would stand up, and he'd keep the body lock and just throw him down. Stand up and then he just throw him down. And in the UFC, they count those as takedowns. I don't know why. one, it's just not a takedown. Two, it's like obviously not really a change of control or position. Nothing's happening, so you're just falsely inflating the stats. And it gives a false representation of what's going on. Anyway, I say that to say, just factoring in the possibility for mat returns within a 25-minute fight, I can see Tatiana Suarez getting more than 4 takedowns, but I can also see her not. I kind of used the Cejudo versus Aljamain as a metric. I don't know why, it just felt right. Aljamain, I think, got 4. I have no idea why that fight came to my mind as a metric, but I did. The thing is, the only thing I'm not sure if Zhang Weili is going to be able to get up. I could see her getting taken down like to her butt, going up against the cage, getting up on her knees, standing up with the overhook, and then Suarez throwing her back down, and then maintaining position like in the first round. And I could see if Zhang Weili is able to survive. It might be tough because Rose took her down. Rose didn't take her down that much, but when she took her down, she had her down, which makes me think Suarez is going to be able to hold her down, at least for the most part, as long as she has a pretty good entry. Not saying Zhang Weili hasn't improved. It's been 4 years since then, and she's been able to use wrestling offensively in pretty much all of her fights. So I do believe she's been working on her wrestling. I don't think it will be able to compete with Suarez. I've seen, like, if you watch like some of Aljamain's behind the scenes training vlogs, you'll see Suarez in the PI in like all of the wrestling and grappling classes always. And you know she comes from a camp with good, at least counter grapplers like Chris Curtis, Sean Strickland. Like, I didn't know they train together that much, but apparently they do. So you know, like, her grappling's like always on point. Her striking is not going to be where Weili's is, but her physicality and her wrestling is probably going to make it equal. Which makes me think Suarez is going to take it. I could also see her getting tired. I mean, it's the first 5-round fight. She's not as active or as experienced as Weili. I could see her taking her down, beating her up for the first 2-3 rounds, and then Weili stuffing a couple takedowns, or like getting taken down, then getting right back up, hitting her with a couple like 1-2, low kick, body kick, you know, kind of making it a close fight by the end of the fight, and then Zhang Weili losing a split decision or a 48-47. I want Weili to win. I'm rooting for her just because I like Weili. She's one of my favorite fighters. I like the way she fights. And I'd like to kind of see a super fight with her and the 25-pound champion, but I more so wanted that when it was Grasso. But Shevchenko, I think she's just too small. I don't think she really has anything for Shevchenko, and if Shevchenko gets beat by Manon Fiorot, she's also just, she big bodies the 25er, so there's really nothing there. So I guess I really don't mind if she loses, because if Suarez wins, it kind of opens up the division a bit. I don't think it's too close, but it opens it up a bit. And that gives us the opportunity for rematches. Suarez is more likely to be able to go up and compete. So I guess, you know, now I'm thinking about it, I'm more open to whatever happens. To prove my point about the leg reach too, John Jones has he had a 12-inch reach advantage on DC, 84-72. He has a 45-inch leg reach, while Daniel Cormier has, I'm gonna guess 40. Nope, 30. I'll say he's black. I'll say 40. That's my guess. He's 41 and a half. So yes, 12 inches in the same UFC fight. He had 12 inches of reach, but he had 3.5 inches of leg reach. So it just shows you that leg reach is not nearly as pronounced. So if you do have a couple inches on it, it's a big difference. It's a big deal, and it can be if people know how to use it. Moving on from that was pretty long-winded. Du Plessis and Strickland. Something tells me this fight's gonna play out the exact same as the first, and I don't normally say that. I normally tend to think rematches play out entirely different than the original fight. I think getting past Sean Strickland's defense, that Philly shell, the teep, I think, and that defense isn't necessarily his defense, but I think it kind of helps him maintain his distance. I think it's tough, especially in the first round, maybe even in the second round. However, Du Plessis surprisingly picked up on it and figured it out way quicker than I thought. Like, he figured it out by about the end of the second round. He was landing head kicks, he was landing to the head, and it came from him mixing it up to the leg and the body and just mixing up his target and just blitzing forward and being tough enough to take a shot while giving one. A lot of people don't figure it out. Abus couldn't figure it out. Cannonier didn't really figure it out. He won, but he wasn't really making it to Strickland the way Du Plessis was. Adesanya couldn't figure it out. Costa couldn't figure it out. A lot of people have not been able to figure it out. Who was it? Imavov did okay, but Strickland used a lot more grappling in that fight, so that was kind of a different fight. Sean Strickland doesn't really fight like that normally. However, I think Du Plessis is gonna know how to get to him. I mean, he's had experience with Adesanya now, and he's had experience with him. I think from round 1, he's gonna know how to get to. I think Strickland's gonna be very sharp in round 1. His defense is always gonna be sharp, but I think Du Plessis is gonna know exactly what it takes to find success. I think he knows that his takedowns made a little bit of a difference, and that's how you can gas Strickland. They always talk about his gas tank. I don't typically praise anybody's gas tank if they're just strikers, especially if they're not particularly explosive or dynamic strikers. Of course, you can have great cardio if you stand straight up, flat-footed, and you have 3 attacks you use. A jab, a teep, and a cross. I mean, of course you have great. Of course you can have great cardio. What's more impressive is his ability to have defense and have the eyes for that for the entire fight. That's more impressive. He doesn't necessarily have impressive cardio. If you take him down and just wear on him, you use the Marab method. I mean, you're not going to be able to hold him down most likely. People, like I was saying, people out of Extreme Couture, they just seem to have really good counter wrestling. Just shoot in, get him on his butt, put your weight on him, try to trip out his legs, make him fall on his hands and get back up and body lock him and knee him in the leg and then knee him in the body and then elbow him and then clinch him and just make him tired. And then we'll see in that 3rd round what he's looking like, what that cardio's looking like, if he's still coming forward, still use your blitz, and just fight the way you fought pretty much the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th round of the original. Isn't that what he won? 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, right? He didn't win the 1st, and I don't think he won the 2nd. I think he won 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. I believe he pulled away in those, and that's how he won. Well, actually, it might have been all over the place for the judges, so I can't say what he won definitively, but I think if he sticks to that, I think he'll win. Sean, as we know, no matter who he fights, no matter what their game plan is, he fights the same. The only except in the Imavov fight, that was the only time he came in with a different game plan, and that was under different circumstances. At short notice, he had just lost. That was a split decision, controversial for him. I think that was a little bit different, but I don't expect him to come in and body lock Dricus. That wouldn't even be smart. I mean, it wouldn't even be smart for Strickland probably to mix in the wrestling. What he needs, the only thing Strickland needs to mix in is body shots, maybe head kicks. The stuff he throws in the last 10 seconds of fight, just those, sharpened hooks. That's all it really would take, but he's probably not going to do that. I mean, even when you watch his pad work, I don't really see him like throwing many shots to the body. I'm sure they throw that in their pad work just to probably edge him towards doing that, but yeah, I don't see him throwing too much of that, and so I don't see a way that the judges want to give him the fight if he's not mixing it up or showing some type of significant damage. And if Izzy, with the way Izzy was hitting him, couldn't put him down. I mean, Izzy did gas him. Like, Izzy pushed Dricus. Like, when Dricus was down and Izzy let him up and the ref said stand up and Dricus was still kneeling and took him a minute to get up, I for sure thought Izzy had that fight won. But it didn't happen. I don't see a finish. I see another 25-round war, and I see a 49-46 or a 48-47 for Dricus. Probably a 48-47. And if he loses any rounds, I think it'll be the 1st and the 5th. I think Strickland will do that thing where he explodes at the end, might win him the 5th round, and I think in the 1st round he just might be too sharp for Dricus to make it there. So that's my predictions. I don't even, if I just had to go through the rest of the card and just pick names, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do that. Yeah, it's not happening. So yeah, that's what I think is gonna win. And then we'll see if I was right, and we'll see if my prize picks hit. If I hit I start hitting 5 pay-per-views in a row, prize picks, come holla at me. We're gonna do some business. Yeah. So I'm thinking and still and probably and still and new. If I just had to pick who I want, it'd be and still, just because I want to see Du Plessis versus Hamzat. Strickland's fun as a champion though. He talks good. He promotes the belt well. You're gonna have moments with him, but I want to see Du Plessis versus Hamzat more. And Wei Li, I don't know. I just like Wei Li. She's my favorite. She's one of my favorite 115 favorite female fighter active right now probably. But I Tatiana Suarez with, and it's not bad. The only thing is that she's not active. I don't like champions that I can't trust to be active. That's the thing about Hamzat too. Like I said, she's like the 115 Hamzat. If she's a champion, who knows when we're getting another defense. So that's the only thing with that. But anyway, yep, that's my predictions. Let's see what happens, and I'll see you guys in the next video.